Every big club has one, a player everyone can see doesn't belong except the club itself, who somehow keeps writing his name on the team sheet. Not because he's terrible, not because he can't play football, but because he simply isn't good enough for what that specific badge demands. Let's take a look at 10 of them. Football fans, this is the deal you don't want to miss. Whether you're hunting for an iconic World Cup jersey or the colours of your favourite club, Goal90 Shop has the perfect pick for you. And right now, everything is a flat 15% off, with free shipping anywhere in the world. So don't wait. Hit the link in the description, head over to Goal90 Shop and grab your favourite jersey today. We start at Old Trafford, where Joshua Zirkzee was supposed to be the answer to Manchester United's striker problem. 2 years on, he's closer to being the question mark. United got him from Bologna in 2024, and since then he's managed just 8 goals in 71 appearances. That's not a squad player's return, that's a crisis. And it explains why United seem resigned with the idea of moving him on back to Serie A, with reports in Italy claiming Zirkzee is ready for a fresh start. Michael Carrick has already shown you where he sits in the pecking order. Benjamin Sesko is the guy leading the line. When United need a spark, Carrick has even used Bryan Mbeumo through the middle instead. Zirkzee floats between a false nine and a link-up man without truly dominating either role, and his best attributes, dropping deep linking play, holding the ball up, aren't the ones a club desperate for goals actually needs. There's also a growing sense that his game is simply built for a different league entirely, one with more space and less physicality, which is exactly why Serie A keeps coming calling. And when a club is simultaneously searching for more attacking reinforcements while trying to offload him, that tells you everything about how much they actually trust him. Speaking of trust issues, nobody exemplifies that phrase quite like Robert Sanchez. Since joining Chelsea in 2023, he ranks second in the entire Premier League for errors leading to shots and errors leading to goals, and remarkably, he's made the fewest appearances of anyone near the top of those unwanted charts. Chelsea have continually explored goalkeeper upgrades despite him technically being their number one, which is not something clubs do when they're convinced. Watch how reluctant Chelsea's defenders are to play the ball back to him under pressure. That hesitation says more than any stat could. Put him next to Alisson, Raya or Donnarumma and the gap isn't close. Those are the standards a title-chasing club needs between the sticks, and right now, Sanchez isn't clearing that bar. Now let's head to Bavaria, because João Palhinha might be the cleanest case on this entire list. Bayern paid Fulham €51 million for him in 2024, and he managed just under 1,000 minutes before being shipped out on loan. At Tottenham, he actually thrived, scoring a crucial final day winner to help them survive relegation. Yet Spurs still chose not to trigger their buy option. Bayern have since slashed his asking price, practically begging clubs to take him off their hands. A player good enough to save Tottenham from the drop isn't automatically good enough for a club that dominates possession the way Bayern do, and that contrast tells you exactly where his ceiling sits. He's an outstanding ball winner, no question, but Bayern need midfielders who dictate tempo and resist pressure in tight spaces, and Palhinha's game lies more in defensive transitions than in build-up play. For a signing that expensive to be treated as expendable within a single season says everything about how badly that transfer misfired. Back in the Premier League, Savinho's situation at Manchester City is fascinating because the talent was never really in question. What was in question is whether Pep Guardiola and now Enzo Maresca could never fully trust him. Savinho has reportedly told City he wants out, and Tottenham are closing in on a deal. Behind names like Cherki, Doku, Foden and Semenyo, he's simply never nailed down a starting berth. He often looks like a proper player for about 5 minutes when you watch him, and then just disappears the rest of the time, lacking any real end product to go with his talent. When a winger this talented is available to a rival in the same league, you know City never fully bought in. Liverpool's situation is a little different because Joe Gomez isn't lacking ability, he's lacking a body that cooperates with him. The club's longest-serving outfield player has spent a decade being brilliant everywhere and essential nowhere, filling in at centre-back, left-back and right-back without ever locking down one of them. Liverpool have already brought in Giovanni Leone and Jeremy Jacquet, and Gomez picked up yet another injury that will have him out of the start of the new season. When your own club keeps recruiting your direct replacements, it isn't subtle. Put him next to Virgil van Dijk, and the gap is obvious. One is the standard the whole defence is built around, the other is the safety net you call on when others are injured or tired. Useful, dependable in short bursts but never quite first choice, and Liverpool's actions in the transfer market keep confirming that. Back to Manchester United, and Manuel Ugarte tells a story about the modern game that United still haven't fully learned. He was signed to be the ball-winning shield in front of the defence, but United's biggest rivals now want their holding midfielders to actually progress the ball. Think Rodri, Rice and Vitinha. Ugarte rarely breaks lines. Before a serious injury at the World Cup sidelined him for the best part of a year, reports suggested he'd been placed on a shortlist to leave and even floated as part of a swap deal for Sandro Tonali. When a club is willing to trade you rather than build around you, the writing was already on the wall. Curtis Jones is a trickier one because Liverpool genuinely rate him, and new manager Andoni Iraola has publicly backed him to be a regular starter. But the doubts haven't gone away. He's still viewed as too safe, too many sideways passes, rarely the player who decides a big match, and it's no coincidence Inter Milan tried to sign him for a fraction of Liverpool's valuation this summer. Compare him to Mac Allister, Szoboszlai or Gravenberch. And it's hard to argue Jones reaches their ceiling consistently, even if the manager is publicly giving him a clean slate. Then there's Arsenal, where Gabriel Martinelli's situation has become impossible to ignore. Arsenal are actively pursuing Vinicius Jr. and other wingers for his position, and multiple reports now claim Martinelli himself would ideally like to leave if that move happens. He's already been made available to clubs in Italy, with Roma sniffing around. His numbers have regressed significantly, barely over 1,000 Premier League minutes last season, and if your own club is chasing arguably the best left winger on the planet as your replacement, you don't need anyone to spell out what that means for your long-term prospects. Arsenal are looking to build a dynasty, and it's clear that when you look at their attack, Martinelli is the odd one out when it comes to quality and end product. Nicholas Jackson's story adds another layer because Chelsea essentially outsourced their judgment on him last season, loaning him to Bayern Munich just to see what he could do elsewhere. He actually performed respectably, but mostly as Harry Kane's understudy, and crucially Bayern chose not to trigger their £70 million option to make it permanent. Now he's back at Stamford Bridge under new manager Xabi Alonso, who's promised him a fresh look during pre-season. A promising trial isn't the same as being wanted, and Jackson knows it better than anyone. His movement in behind is still genuinely dangerous, but his finishing has always let him down at the biggest moments, and the discipline issues, needless bookings, rash decisions in the box haven't disappeared either. Line him up against the strikers Chelsea actually need to compete with, Haaland, Isak, Kane, Ekitike, and it's obvious he isn't of similar quality. And finally, Luke Shaw, whose story isn't really about talent at all, it's about time. Last season, for once, he stayed fit. He actually played every Premier League game United asked of him. On paper, that looks like progress. But zoom out at his history, multiple seasons littered with muscle injuries and stretches on the sidelines, and you have to ask whether last season was genuine improvement or simply one lucky break in a run of bad ones. Here's the thing though, injuries aren't even the real issue anymore. The real issue is that it's 2026 and Manchester United are still rolling out a 31-year-old Luke Shaw as their starting left back, sometimes even shifted into central defence, for a team that claims it wants to challenge for Premier League titles and compete in the Champions League. That is nowhere near good enough. This isn't about whether Shaw can still play when his body cooperates. Clearly he can. It's about United's inability to move on, to develop or sign a long-term successor, and their continued reliance on a player whose best years are firmly behind him. 10 different situations, one common thread running through every single one. What do you think of our list? Let us know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Also be sure to turn on post notifications so that you never miss out on any new videos. See you next time. Bye.